Well, Al Michaels was all excited. Chris Collinsworth was fired up there for the Sunday night broadcast. The NFC East billed as a slobber knocker between the Eagles and the Cowboys. How did that work out? Blowout city. This game was over at halftime. There was no competition. Zeke Elliott, waking up from his Mexican vacation there, that nice workout before the year, Zeke finally arriving for the Cowboys. It had been a couple of weeks since he played well. 111 yards and a touchdown. But the Cowboys, as impressive as it was more of a gift from Philadelphia. And we've often talked about most games being lost, not won, but the Cowboys stomping out the Eagles like a cigarette on the sidewalk there. 37-10. 37-10. Dallas never trailed. And was hard to trail because the Eagles spotted the Cowboys a couple of scores early in the game with football incompetence here, and a matchup of blood rivals in the NFC East. Not much of a matchup at all. So the agony continues in Philadelphia, and the better story is in the losing locker room yet again, and that would be the Philadelphia side of things. So let's talk about that part of it and the question. We're going to frame it this way. All right, are the Eagles really as bad as they look? Because they looked atrocious. They look like a team that's not going to make the playoffs. And they were one of the darlings of the pundits before the year. People loved Philadelphia. The so-called experts that have all the answers in the NFL media were swooning, falling head over heels about how good this Philadelphia team was. And they lost to Atlanta a couple weeks back. You know, it was early in the year. They lost to the Atlanta Falcons, which by default means you're a fraud if you lose to the Atlanta Falcons. Everybody gets right against the Atlanta Falcons, but somehow Philly lost in Atlanta. And so my thoughts on this, now, enough excuse. I think 100% the Eagles are as bad as they are. Their record says they are. You've got the paper, the trifecta of doom, and Liberty Valance. And we will combine all these things together into a nice, glorious package. Now, Doug Peterson. Let's start with Doug Peterson, who has talked the talk. I have no problem with coaches guaranteeing performances at all. I have no problem with that. I mean, you should think going into any game you're going to win the game. Otherwise, why the hell are you there? You're wasting a lot of fossil fuels going to these games. So what's up with that? But Doug Peterson had guaranteed on his radio show in Philadelphia that the Eagles were going to go out there and win the game. And so he talked the talk, and the Philadelphia Eagle players failing to walk the walk, and not just failing to walk the walk, it's like they were annoyed they had to play the game, the way they performed here. Philadelphia provided little resistance here. It was another slop-filled mess yet again. So the question of the hour, and you'll hear the question being asked to Doug Peterson here, the Eagles coach, do you regret saying what you said on the radio show, guaranteeing Philadelphia would be a victorious team?
Do you regret voicing your confidence earlier in the week?
Nope, do not. Just felt like, I had a lot of confidence in this football team, a lot of trust, a lot of faith in the guys, had a good week of preparation. And after a game like this, we all have to kind of step back, look in the mirror, especially myself. It starts with me. And this is one of those games that, I take personal from that standpoint. We didn't play well, and that's personal on me. So I got to get that fixed.
So that means you no longer have confidence in your team because you had confidence in your team, and they made you look like a schmo. They were terrible. They were horrific. Yeah, I mean, Doug Peterson, the Eagles coach there, can play the fiddle as the Delaware Valley burns. At least their chances of making the playoffs. But again, it's a two-horse race, and there's a big loss. They get to play the Cowboys again down the line. But you are what your record says you are, as Bill Parcells taught me when I was a kid watching football. And they got punched in the face, Philadelphia, early in this game. Self-inflicted. It was almost like they punched themselves in the face. And they never responded. And that hokey line about heart of a champion and all that for Philadelphia was just not on display. It was not on display at all. And you think about paper, as in a paper tiger, the Philadelphia Eagles would be in that category. Great offseason. They won the offseason, all those big-name additions in Philly. And some of those guys have been hurt, to be fair. But it's all meaningless. I mean, Philadelphia is under 500. They continue to be the most generous team in the NFL of late. And as far as what Doug Peterson said, again, you can look back and say, well, last week against the Vikings, who prior to that game against Philadelphia had not exactly been lighting the world on fire, and the Eagles laid an egg in Minnesota. So you think, well, that should have been a game that was the wake-up call, and it wasn't. But the Eagles had 4 turnovers in the game. Cowboys had 1. Dak Prescott threw an interception. But those giveaways turned the game into a rout or root, depending on where you learned English. But they were self-inflicted wounds. Dallas scored 21 points off Eagle fumbles. 21. And they end up losing the game. Philadelphia does 37-10. But most of that just because of their bad play. All right, so part B of this. Now, the perception, I've often said, and most of us agree, is reality. That the perception is reality. And the perception is the Eagles are lacking that killer instinct, that they don't have that secondary punch in Philadelphia that the great teams have. And Philadelphia certainly has backed that up with their play on the field. And the Eagles, the other thing about the Eagles here is they had the trifecta of doom working in this game. They were out-coached. Believe it or not, Jason Garrett, the Cowboys coach. I always confuse Sean Payton and Jason Garrett. I don't know why that is. But Jason Garrett, who much maligned himself, and he did a better job. Now, again, I don't know how great the Cowboys really played as opposed to how bad the Eagles played, but you give the nod as far as being outcoached to Doug Peterson. He was outcoached by Jason Garrett. Outplayed, certainly that was the case. The Cowboys had a rather crisp performance, and Philadelphia played dumb football. They played like a bunch of dummies here. Other than that, things are great, and everything will be all right. It'll be rainbows and lollipops, and why not? Cheesesteak for everybody, tasty cakes for everybody in Philly. And I did see after the game Doug Peterson agreeing that this is one of the worst losses during his brief time as coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. And he wasn't, to be fair, he was not trying to downplay this. I saw some of his post-game news conference. We played some of it here. But the Eagles have plenty of bravado, which is good. Like guys like me that are blowhards on the radio love teams that have bravado because it makes for good talk radio because they're arrogant and they strut around and all that stuff. The problem is you look like a bunch of morons when you don't back it up on the field. It's empty machismo. And Philadelphia has so much of this fake confidence going on right now. If one play, I'm going to sum up the entire game. If you didn't see the game Sunday night, or if you did, it's better if you did see it. There's one play in particular that to me sums up the Philadelphia Eagles, and it involves the much maligned Nelson Aguilar. There was a pass play. Now, the game was lopsided, but there was a pass play, and Nelson Aguilar was open. He had gotten past the defender of the Dallas Cowboys. And did you see what happened next? You know what I'm talking about here? If you saw the play, Nelson Aguilar suddenly got a case of alligator arms. And he didn't want to catch the ball. And he needed to hustle to the end of the play. He didn't finish the play. And it would have been a big gainer, a big chunk play in this game. And apparently he was afraid of, I'm not sure what he was afraid of, because it didn't appear that there was any Cowboy player that was about to lay him on his backside there. Like there was some kind of shadow boogeyman or something like that was going to take Aguilar out, but there was nobody from the Cowboys that was going to take him out. And I guess the argument, if he was a musician, if he was in music, Nelson Aguilar would be Sir Drop-A-Lot because that's his nickname. He dropped tons of passes. And of course, that famous guy in Philly that became a viral sensation a couple weeks back that was saving kids out of a burning building. And unlike Aguilar, I didn't drop it like Aguilar. Then you had Carson Wentz. Who tried to catch a shotgun snap right to the perfect snap, right to the face there, and fumble! Bug on the rug. Carson Wentz unable to even catch a snap. And he had fumbleitis, a hard case of that. Here's Carson Wentz commenting on what the heck it's like there in Philadelphia's side of things. They're not happy, apparently. They should be very happy. Why not? They make a lot of money.
Frustrated, a little embarrassed. You know, we didn't show up. They beat the crap out of us, and we got to be better.
That would be an understatement. That would be an understatement of understatement. All right, last word here. So the Cowboys are still, because of this, they're in the driver's seat in the NFC. So it's a two-horse race. You got the Cowboys and you got the Eagles. The Redskins aren't even trying. They have no chance. The Giants are a hot mess. They somehow lost to the Cardinals at home. That's embarrassing. And so it's going to be Philadelphia or Dallas. They play each other again, so there's still an opportunity there. But Dak Prescott, the other thing about this, which is confusing to me, is that Dak Prescott outplayed Carson Wentz. Now, I have been a very vocal critic of Dak Prescott. I wouldn't pay him $35 million a year if I ran the Dallas Cowboys. But this has happened a lot in this rivalry between Philadelphia and Dallas, where Dak Prescott head-to-head with Carson Wentz has been the better player when these guys have matched up. And it reminds me of the Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, that old Hollywood movie from the 1960s. When the legend becomes the fact, you print the legend. The legend is that Carson Wentz is this big, hulking brute of a quarterback who's wonderful and he's better than Dak Prescott. And I don't disagree with that. Right? I'm one of those people that has been advocating for Carson Wentz somewhat compared to Dak Prescott, but yet you got to look at the results. And Carson Wentz, time and again, gets outplayed by Dak Prescott when these guys line up. You know, the legend is that Wentz is better. And I generally would agree that I would rather have Carson Wentz than Dak Prescott. But when they match up against each other, the opposite seems to be happening. And that's just the reality here. And, you know, keep taking it on the chin in these big spots, and that's what happens with Carson Wentz. The Cowboys had two drives, two back-breaking drives. They had a 12-play, 81-yard drive and a 13-play, 89-yard drive in this game. Philly's defense was simply not able to get them off the field. And some of those other drives, because of the fumbles by Carson Wentz and the interceptions and whatnot, they were very short drives. But the Eagles have time left. Obviously, it's not even at the midway point of the NFL season. They have plenty of time left to get back. But I have zero confidence that the Philadelphia Eagles have the intestinal fortitude to get it done. They are confused. They are wandering. And they have no real idea of how it's going to get done here. And they're just a bad football team right now, losing team. And we should have known something was up when you lose to the Atlanta Falcons, because that is, again, I saw the Falcons play the Rams. You know, I'm a Ram apologist, and the Rams looked like they were getting ready to go to the Super Bowl. Playing Atlanta. If they can play Atlanta a few more times, the Rams will win forget the 49ers, the Rams will win the division. Yeah, damn right. How about that, Jalen Ramsey? You got to make that trade. Jalen Ramsey, man, my guy Ramsey. Come on. They shut down the Falcons' offense. I know Matt Ryan got hurt in the fourth quarter, but the Rams were controlling that football game. Hey, it's Ben. I'm not normally on YouTube, but I host the Ben Maller Show here on Fox Sports Radio. And on this channel, you can hear my radio show and all my hot takes on all the day's events in the world of sports. Crazy callers, silly radio game shows, and a whole lot more. And everyone that works here at the mighty, powerful Fox Sports Radio, you can hear on this channel. So give it a listen. Thank you. And keep supporting us here on Fox Sports Radio on our YouTube channel. How cool is that?